People demand that too.
Test video, is it working? I believe it is.
God, that's terrifying.
All right, let's have a look and see how this works. Hello, this is the QUACKCAST. Welcome to QUACKCAST number 408. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is, oh my god, we got Pitface back. Hi, Pitsy.
She is risen from the dead. That is the spirit of Christmas.
I thought you were more like Krampus. In that it doesn't exist.
Only if you want me to be. I don't exist, that's true.
So, of course, we have Baines and Tansy. Hey, guys. Hey, hey, hey.
Hello.
Hey, 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 hey. Reminds me of Pepe. Specifically the way Tance used to say Pepe. Say it, Tance.
Pepe.
So we're going to be talking about imitation as a sincere form of flattery, because we're imitating Emilius's post from last week. Well, Sunday, so it's the start of the week. Oh my, I get confused. Yes, it was the start of the week. Yes, that's it. Okay, but it'll be oh my god, I'm already confused. It'll be next week, blah blah. Anyway, so last Sunday, Emilius did this great post about imitation and how when you discover work that sort of imitates yours, what do you do, or who do you find out who was the first person to do it, and maybe it's not something you should be angry about, maybe it's something you should be happy about. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about, because imitation is interesting. We all take inspiration from the same sources, so we can produce the same work and not even know it. And there's all those sorts of things. Or maybe someone is copying us, who knows. Before we get into that, we've got the QUACKCAST feature. The feature that Kwai has given us. So, this week, Kwai gave us an interesting little feature, which is a comic called Run, Stop, Go. Take it away, Kwai, with Run, Stop, Go.
Hello, this is QUACKCAST, and the feature I've selected for this week is Run, Stop, Go by Bucket, and it is rated T for teen. It is Halloween night, and a crescent moon is up in the sky. A fuzzy-faced loner in a hoodie named Kurt is running through the street until he enters a bar to get a drink. Everyone is dressed up in fantastic costumes, so it is easy for someone out of the ordinary to blend in tonight. However, Kurt, a partially transformed werewolf, is way too observant to ignore that there is a vampire at the bar who is the real deal. Things are about to get really heated when a werewolf meets a vampire. The art is pretty gorgeous. Sometimes the backgrounds remain monochrome in order to highlight the main character. Follow Kurt into the bar and see where his chance encounter with a vampire leads, and read Run, Stop, Go by Bucket, rated T.
That was the featured comic. Thank you very much for that, Kwai. Run, Stop, Go. Okay. After that, we have the featured music that Gumwallace has given us, which is the theme to Sacred Eden? No, it's Scarred Eden. Scarred, like a scar. So, here we go. This music is a million futuristic laser violins play a symphony of light and sound, weaving the landscape of our dreams against the awesomely huge backdrop of a swirling purple star-filled nebula. Take it away, Gumwallace, with Scarred Eden. And that was the theme to Scarred Eden. Thank you for that, Gummerless. Scarred Eden. Righty, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, so they say. Is that true? It is. It is.
Is it?
End of QUACKCAST.
That's a deep question. Yeah, we need some pondering.
Let's talk about some of the things that cause imitation. Okay, so one of the things is you're all drawing from the same well of influences often. Like the same you draw from the same cultural milieu. So, right, you're watching same animations on TV, same cartoons, because they're all popular at the same time. The music is super popular, so everybody's into that. Same news events, same fashion trends, they're all sort of influencing you, which can sort of make you come up with the same kind of work, because you synthesize that and you make your own work based on the things you love, and other people love the same stuff. So things are going to end up looking similar. So that's just something we have to live with. And when we look at our work and we see other people doing the similar stuff, it's often because of that. Like for Pinky TA, I drew from a lot of things like Ghost in the Shell, Aeon Flux, The Max, lots of kind of things that were popular at the time when I created it. In the late 90s, I want to say. Gemini Holograms was popular a long time ago back in history. But still, pink anime in general. So Pinky TA had a lot of those stuff, a lot of those things, and other people had drawn from them as well. Not those exact influences, but, pink-haired main characters, that's a pretty damn common thing. So I can't really accuse anyone else of copying me just because they got a pink-haired main character. Her name Pinky as well. That's not particularly original. Calling a character after a particular trait like that. So there's going to be a lot of other characters called Pinky with pink hair, and I can't blame them for copying me. So that's another thing I have to live with. So there's a lot of stuff there that Pinky TA has that other comics have. Also being set in the 1920s, like in a diesel punk world, sort of futuristic. That's not so common. So it's very easy to pick out other comics that do that, and I have seen a few, but again, I can't really say they're copying because that's something that's going to happen. Some other people are going to come up with that. Anime does it a lot as well. So again, they might have been influenced by that or whatever. These kind of things are going to be in common. So that's one of the things, that we have shared influences and we end up with work that looks similar in a lot of ways. So what do you do when that happens? Like, say, you've got this work, you thought, my idea is totally bloody original. I've set it in the 1920s, but it's futuristic. It features these war machines and all this kind of stuff. It's diesel punk. And someone else is bloody doing it. Oh, geez. Like, do you hate them? Do you develop a grudge? Do you go and set your fans after them? Do you, have a vendetta? I don't think that's a good way to do it. Emilius doesn't either. I think the way you really have to treat that is try and make friends with them. Or try and send people over to their work. Actually help them out. Or maybe get them to help you out. Maybe you can contact them and say, what were your influences? Or, maybe we can work together. Maybe we can mirror our comics. That's an old-fashioned thing. Or maybe we can promote our comics together. Maybe we can get together and do some kind of crossover. That's what you should really be doing, because there's in numbers, it makes you more popular. It's easier to describe your work because now you're not describing it from scratch, saying, this is futuristic, but it's in the 1920s. You're saying, it's like this other work. Have you ever seen it? It's like that. It's really, really brilliant. This great other comic. Mine's like that. Or maybe they will come up with, different kinds of excellent things to help you out. Maybe they'll sort of come up with a new way of describing or promoting it. So really what you should do when other people work the same as you is try and get in touch and get them to help you out or help them out, because it only can help you. Anyway, so that's my take on people who have worked similar influences. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put it out there. What about you guys?
Well, that definitely works when this happens to you and you are more or less like a give or take a standard deviation, similar in popularity, because that might not always be the case. My experience in terms of art, when I had this happen to me, was devastating. And you'll know in a second why. Because I remember I developed this very original novel, fantasy novel. I thought that nobody else had ever done it. And it was about a magical school, because of course I was a teacher. So I just, transferred the whole magic stuff in the things that I knew.
Yeah.
And it featured, the main character was this guy that was dressed in all black, and he was very sour, and he was the strictest teacher in the school, and everybody hated him. But he wasn't actually bad in the end. And the main character was a girl, but she was also the one targeted by all the bad things in the school, and she had to solve certain mysteries about it. And of course, when I when I started I completed the novel, and
then Transformers came out. And you were like,
yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Oh my God, yeah, you did. And then the first Harry Potter movie came out, and then I realized that this was already something that was a thing. And
oh man,
just remembering it, even now, it brings tears to my eyes, because I had worked so well. The story actually wasn't identical. The plot wasn't identical. The relationships were completely different compared to the cast in Harry Potter and everything. But that didn't matter, because it was the archetypal impression that you got when you saw the story was that it was a complete copy of Rowling's work. So I remember that I just took the whole thing. Thankfully, my mom kept a copy. I still have the actual original thing, and I threw it in the fireplace and I burned it. I was completely devastated. Yeah. Well, I was also very young. Okay, so there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that I just said, there's no way I'm not going to be accused of actually having, copied and imitated the original work of someone else. And I remember that during that 1 year, I told myself that I'm not going to write any fantasy ever again, although I really loved writing fantasy at the time. And I just started reading the Harry Potter books and stuff, and I liked it. I couldn't say I didn't. And then after I cooled down a little bit, like a year after, I told myself, you know what? I still like my characters. They are not like the characters in this series in Harry Potter. I really want to be with them again, but I have to make it be original, and I have to make it be completely different from Harry Potter. And that's how I made The Art of Veiling, which is completely different. Yeah. It's the same characters as in that original first draft, let's say, that I had written. But I'm happier that this happened, because the thing I created, the whole magic system and the whole different things in it taking place, the approach to classical mythology and all this, I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't burned that first draft, and if Rowling hadn't beaten me to the punch. So, yeah, I couldn't possibly contact her and tell her, oh, you know what, I have also, had the same inspirations, and let's cross-promote. That would have been impossible. So that was my experience.
Yeah, you used it as inspiration to go in a different direction. Although what you can do when there's that disparity of popularity, you know, someone else is like right up there and you're right down here, is that you can use that popularity in order to sell your work to other people, saying, oh, you're looking for something like that? My work is sort of like that. And that can often help sell your work. A lot of people have done that, and they do that. You know, something big comes out and then they'll do theirs, or maybe they've already done theirs and they just use that popularity to sort of, you know, get a little bit of a boost on their own thing. It can help you.
Yes, that's definitely a thing, and it's completely acceptable. But I was arrogant. I wanted to do my own stuff. I didn't want it to be like anything else I had read before.
Yeah.
So that was a non-option for me personally. So.
And, well, you took it positively anyway. So many people who've done, because that's the Harry Potter thing is, of course, completely unoriginal in a lot of ways. You know, a lot of people have done magic schools, and that's as old as anything. You know, there were TV shows and movies even before Harry Potter, like The Worst Witch. That's a classic example of exactly the same sort of story. So what a lot of people did is they go the wrong way and they think, oh my God, she's done this. That's an exact copy of my work. I'm going to try and sue her, which doesn't go well. You know, you think, oh, that person's earned so much money. Maybe I can get a piece of that. It doesn't really often work out that way. And in the end, you just lose money. You already didn't have any anyway. Now you've lost more money because they've got all the money for the lawyers and your bucket. So... yeah, often it's not a good idea to go after someone with the knives drawn. It just doesn't work. Even if you think they were first, if you think there is a definite like stealing, you know, maybe you've been hurt so much by that. Maybe you're so angry you just can't help it. You know, fair enough then, but you know the risks. That can be dangerous, especially if they're really successful.
You must have evidence. If you have concrete evidence, go for it. Absolutely. They shouldn't be profiting off your work.
Yeah.
But you have to have concrete evidence that it's yours and it was taken. It can't be on conjecture or only on similarity. It has to be shown that they had access to you and your manuscript. They had some way of getting it that yours predated theirs and so on and so forth in order to actually build a good case.
Yeah, definitely. You need some kind of timeline of the crime there to point it out. But yeah, still, it's a dodgy road. That's why you, Tans, what's the thing you do? You have to send out cease and desist letters. You have to threaten people in a kind of legal way. You don't threaten them saying, "Oh, if you don't stop doing this, I'm going to get your family. I know where you live." You know, you don't do that because, yeah, there's problems with that. There's some problems.
They don't do that in writing, at least. Okay.
Yes. You got to be careful. Yeah, so you've got to do like your cease and desist letters, things like that, which is what the big companies do. Or even patent trolls, people like this, they'll send cease and desist. Maybe they're never going to follow up on that, but you go through it, and people will like they'll be scared off by it. Maybe they'll think maybe you'll follow up on it, and then they'll stop copying you. But you only do that if you really do know they're doing it. Most of the time, it's better to be cooperative rather than antagonistic with these things.
Mm-hmm. And I have to also say that if, for example, two people are inspired by the same, let's say, the same material or the same concept or whatever, and they produce similar things, it's not actually imitation. It's just very bad luck on the part of one, at least, of the two. But they are not actually imitating each other. So...
no, it can seem like it, but yeah, it's not. So that's an interesting thing to happen. It's something to keep in mind, whether someone really is imitating you. So speaking of like being inspired by your heroes or whatever, drawing from inspiration, Emilius brings up a fantastic story about an artist producing work on DeviantArt, a really popular artist, and fans going and liking the work as they do. And one of the fans says, "Oh my God, that's a fantastic brush stroke he used. Digital brushes. Can I ask you what settings he used to produce that brush? Because that's really cool." And the artist was incensed, absolutely incensed by this, and went on this whole big spiel about how the brush settings are original to them, and that's like their intellectual property, and they're never going to show like their particular brush settings. And they did this whole, picture of themselves like giving this person the finger and saying how
Really?
Yeah.
Just for
That's
asking?
line. That's ridiculous. Whoever you are out there, you're a fucking douchebag. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And an insecure douchebag as that, like very insecure. Come on.
Yeah.
Disgusting kind of behavior. But that kind of thing always, there is a certain level, of people like asking for free work, and that like gets you insulted after, or makes you feel really angry, all that kind of thing.
Well, that's one thing, but learn how to differentiate. Don't be a. I don't have to get on a high horse. We're all on the same page here, I think.
But people can get a bit too angry, and they can like turn everything into some antagonistic relationship between them and the world. Them against the world. Oh, you want to copy my hard work with this brush? Well, screw you, screw the world. I'm like giving everybody the finger. It's just, you all want something for free, you bastards, and you don't be that dick, because people will hate you, and you'll lose those fans.
Yeah.
So don't be an absolute dick. It's not them wanting to steal from you who are being the dick. It's you who are being the dick.
To be that sensitive and insecure, I'd say probably don't publish your shit online, because you're just not going to be able to handle it.
That's a good point. There have been a lot of people doing that. They come out and they say, but I'm scared. What else? If I release my work early, if I release things before it's actually done, maybe someone else is going to copy me. Maybe someone else is going to steal it. Everything has to be perfect before I do the work, or else I don't want to have to deal with people being stealing from
That's
you.
something to be aware of to a point. I'm not going to go, I have a few narrative ideas shuffling around in my head, a couple things that I was going to bring up here, actually, and I decided not to because I wanted to protect those ideas. That's different than creating it as an excuse to keep you from doing something. Somebody is going to imitate me or take this idea from me, hence I don't want to do it until it's perfect. That turns into an excuse, as you were just saying. So don't use it as a crutch, but it is something to be aware of.
Yeah, but within reason, because people aren't out there to steal everything from you. But
and there is also such a thing as reverse engineering. Even if you supposedly, present the finished, perfect, 100% finished product, people are going to look at it and they are going to sort of try to puzzle out how you did it. And they may not get the exact process, but there will, if someone actually is out there, and that's another thing that I came to realize very bitterly in different areas, that if someone is really out to copy your stuff, just take the stuff, steal it, there is no real way to stop them from doing it. You are going to have to consider that you are going to have a percentage of your work wasted, let's say. It's like when in the old times when you went to the flour mill, percentage of your wheat was going to be lost to the flour mill itself. And everybody knew that. It's a percentage that is just going to be wasted as part of the whole process. And same goes to the whole stealing thing. Definitely, you should never let it be a thing and everybody have this idea that it's okay to steal from so and so because they don't do anything about it. But you cannot over obsess over it because there is only so many things you can do. You take your precautions, your reasonable precautions, and then that's that. And you cross the bridge when and if you come to it, in that one rare occasion where you come across this idiot that takes your stuff. And now that I'm talking, as I talk, I remember stuff because I usually forget everything. I used to, like when I was really in the beginning of posting stuff online, I used to create some tattoo work for my friends who were completely insane, trusting me with their skin, basically. So anyway, so I had a series of zodiac sign tattoos that were sort of like Art Deco fantasy zodiac. And after, I don't know, I did this when I was still a sophomore, I think, or something like that. So, dinosaur time. And after like 15 years or so, I saw it on t-shirts being sold.
Oh my God.
I saw it like literally, they hadn't even taken out my signature because I used to incorporate the signature in the design. It wasn't like on the corner, it was usually part of the actual. So, I was flattered, I have to say, that they would use it, this old design on a t-shirt, but I just, said to the site that this is my work, please take it down, and they did, and that was that. So,
whoa,
yeah.
That's
The
pretty
idea,
good.
Yeah,
Not only did they copy it, but they actually took it down when you asked them. That's pretty rare.
It reminds me kind of what were you going to say?
No, I think that it was one of those sites that just takes images and, slaps it on stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not very good, but I'm glad that they listened to you, though. That's weird that they would, given the lack of ethics in the first place.
We're just like, we'll just keep doing this, and if anyone notices, then we'll take it down.
What were you going to say, Pete?
What were you going to say?
Well, I had kind of a similar experience, although not so much with a nameless entity, and it's not something that so like, all right, so you guys all know that I love that band Voivod, right? I love them.
You do?
Well, I made this. I know. Who would have thought? This is ridiculous. But anyway, and I've taken a lot of inspiration from them over the years. And back in 2005, I believe it was, their guitarist passed away, Piggy, and he was very iconic in the band, helped create a lot of the sound, their iconic sound. But anyway, so I drew this big piece of artwork for it, and I sent it to this website that they had up at the time, and they put it up, and so a lot of Voivod found the artwork as well. And later on, I think, a year or two later, something, the band was going to have like this memorial gathering for Piggy, and the singer of the band, Snake, he actually got a hold of me. He sent a message to my email asking if they could print the image on some shirts, especially for the memorial. I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I don't know if that ever happened, but years later, I was at a Voivod show, and I was walking around. This was probably about 3-4 years ago, probably 3 years. I was walking around, and I run into this guy, and he's wearing a shirt with that image that I drew out. I'm like, oh, get the hell out. I drew that, you know? So we're talking. At first, I had figured that he got it from the memorial event, but no. What happened is there's this guy, and he's been printing them from his own business. I'm pretty sure, I think. And I think the band knows about it, but I was never contacted about it, the artwork or anything like that. And so, like, I haven't even gotten, like, a free t-shirt out of this or anything. But the people on site, or at least on the Facebook and stuff like that, a lot of them have come to know that I did draw that image, so that when anybody posts it, somebody right away tags me and credits me, which is pretty cool. So it's not like, I don't feel like at all like I'm hesitant to bring this up, because I'm actually quite flattered about it. And, you know, that something that I drew is synonymous with this iconic figure, you know, and this in his passing. But it was kind of strange, like, just walking around and all of a sudden seeing somebody wearing my design and being like, wait, how'd you get that? You know, wait a minute.
Oh, God. So in this instance, it's at least, you're at least getting exposure in a way. I mean, artists do not like being paid in exposure, so to speak. But in this instance, you're okay with that.
Oh, absolutely.
That is a case-by-case
Especially
basis.
because at first, yeah, it is definitely. And like I said, originally, the singer had gotten a hold of me and asked me, so I figured that if I said yes to him, I'm okay with this. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So this is a case-by-case basis. So never take this, people who are listening, as license to be able to use
absolutely
work.
Which was another reason why I was hesitant to bring it up, because when you say that you're okay with such a thing, you're afraid that you're making yourself kind of a welcome mat. Like, all right, well, come in and take my art and use it as you please. No, you can't do that. So don't be an asshole. I don't know where it's going. I guess I was thinking that I had a comparable situation, but anyway.
Yeah, well, it's a damn interesting thing. And when we're talking about like stealing artwork, it can be actually stolen. I mean, people have. This is actually a pretty common thing. People on DeviantArt or other sites will post another artist's work and pretend they are the artist. These,
right?
Yeah, it's like it's a weird thing. What's that, Tom?
That's pathetic.
Yeah,
that's really
sad in a way. Strange though. It's like being a con man, you know, pretending to be someone else and stealing someone else's identity. In that, what they really want is the praise. They want praise and they want people to like them, and they like the fact that people comment on artwork and things like that. So they want that themselves without actually producing the artwork. And it's a really weird situation. So when that happens, you've just got to go to the website, you know, admins or whatever, and ask people to take it down. We've had that on Drunk Duck. We used to have that in the past. Occasionally, it wasn't a common thing here on Drunk Duck, but it did happen, and we'd have to investigate, you know, see who did the original work, because it's not like, you know, someone could report it and we'll just automatically believe them because they could be lying. You know, it could be anybody saying that. So then we have to investigate and find out the reality of it. All of the time, I think, almost all the time, it was someone who was a fan of the artist reporting it. So then I would have to go and independently approach the artist and ask them and say, look, are you the original artist of this work? We've got this art, you know, on here. Can you please provide me some kind of proof or whatever? I don't know. You know, you'd have to go through that. And once they did that, then we'd, like, you know, take it down and delete the account of the other person or whatever. But yeah, those things have to be investigated. So I know that from the inside as well as the outside. Yeah, it's an interesting process. The art stealers. The people who want other people's fame, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't do that, guys. That's a very nasty thing to do, because it's not just that you are stealing the fame and the praise that someone worked hard to earn. It's that you are also stealing the hours invested in actually making the work, and you are stealing the skill, and you are stealing the care and the inspiration and everything, like the whole thing. It's not yours, so stop it.
Yeah, and it's just empty. Like, what does it matter? Like, that's so weird. Just to think of, like, what does that feel like when people are like commenting, praising you, but you didn't even do it? That's a very.
That's why it feels almost inconsequential to even like admonish somebody for it too, from the viewpoint of like, oh, this is wrong, because it feels like something that somebody should know anyway, doesn't it? Like, it feels like we're kind of preaching to the choir. Like, most people that would, consider doing it in the first place.
But it happens. It's like a lot of things. Like, say, in the American military, they have this thing, particularly in America, stolen valor, they call it. So that's like a man pretends to be a veteran. So he pretends to be that. He dresses up in the uniform. He wears a bunch of service medals from particular campaigns or whatever, and goes out in public and gets people thanking them for this service or whatever. And I was a Navy SEAL. I did this, and that's deeply insulting to real veterans who've experienced this stuff. But they do it because they like that praise and that public acknowledgement of themselves. And it's the same kind of things.
It's illegal, I think, isn't it? Am I right?
Yeah.
I think it's illegal to wear medals that you haven't earned, but I don't know it's illegal. It's not illegal to dress up.
Over here, and there was a big ruckus with the Minister of Defense over here. That actually over here you are not allowed to wear any uniform of anything that you are not an official member of.
Yeah.
It's forbidden as deceiving and so on and so forth. So the funny thing is that the idiot that we have as defense minister has a thing for wearing uniforms. So wherever he goes to visit anything that is remotely military, he wears the matching uniform. He's like a
King George or something like that.
Joe Doll with various assortments of uniforms from anything. I mean, he has worn the generals, the Navy officers, how do you call it, Air Force, even police stuff, and anything that has a uniform and is a regiment of the state, he has worn, you name it. The only thing that he hasn't put on yet is the firefighters uniform. And everyone is saying, like, who is going to have this collectively? And the whole thing, why is it a problem? Because the units don't like it. They hate it.
Yeah.
A man after my own heart. I'd do the same thing if I was in that position. A huge collection.
That's a wimp. Like, I don't know. He's obviously a man that gets scared very easily. It's fun. It would be fun if it wouldn't be so tragic in a sense. But yeah, don't steal other people's stuff, especially stuff that they have invested for so long and given up parts of themselves to do it. Because from anything, from service to one's country to actually making art. You give up things in order to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, you make sacrifices. That's how it goes. Yeah, there's a lot of time and money and pain and sweat and tears and inspiration involved in that kind of stuff. But well, let's talk about, rather than actual stealing, what are some other aspects of the whole imitation kind of stuff? What do people copy storylines from you guys, or do you copy story? Have you ever found yourself actually, you look back and look at something else and think, oh my God, I not only took this inspiration from someone, this is more than inspiration. I've taken a bit too much. I have to change this. I mean, I know you had the whole thing that was, Harry Potter was sort of the same, but that wasn't like, you hadn't had anything to do with that. But say, have you ever looked at some kind of thing you've been inspired by and realized, I've been a bit too inspired by this? Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh my God! Yes, of course. This thankfully never saw the light of day. I caught it early. But I used to be a big fan of MacGyver, super big fan of MacGyver.
Like Patty and Selma from Simpsons.
Yeah, I have seen. I have seen every single episode. I don't know how many times. It's and the movies and everything. Like, oh my God, it's a thing. So I didn't realize it originally, but I sat down to write a series of short stories for a class I was going to teach, and I needed to create a specific texts for reading comprehension that had, they had to be specifically constructed, let's say, for the kids' levels, and I just wanted to write an adventure, and oh my God, it was like completely transcribing whole episodes of the damn series.
Oh my God! Really?
And I realized it just when I was actually editing the text, and I told myself, "Wait, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop!" And I rewrote the thing. But it was fun. I have to say, it was fun.
I just remembered another one of my influences. Now you bring up MacGyver was, of course, Indiana Jones. I've sort of got that going on with Pinky TA a bit. It's sort of set in the 20s and Indiana Jones set in the 1930s. But the young Indiana Jones was set in the 20s, and yeah, it has like elements of that kind of stuff as well. So, and I have to be careful. Like my character Ace Kincaid is like a pastiche of all those kind of action heroes, but he's a baddie. So that's my little twist on that. But I have to be careful not to make him too close to that kind of stuff, especially in the way he's dressed, like wearing suspenders and shirts that are unbuttoned. So you can sort of make it in the style of it, or you can go too close and you can actually make it. So yeah, you just have to be careful. I don't know whether I've actually caught myself copying anything in particular from my influences. Maybe like, often it happens, I think, you've been influenced by these things, and then you'll go back and look at your influences, and then you think, oh yeah, that's wow, that was really close. Like, I think
it's funny you should bring this up now, because I was sitting here thinking, like, boy, I can't think of anything in my influences that I've felt I've copied too much, And as I'm sitting there thinking about it, I've been drawing this character design based off of what I had told you guys about pre-show, this Helmut character, and I stopped and I looked back, and it's basically like a ripoff of that Warhammer Commissar figurine. I'm like, shit, I did it! I'm doing it right now. Now I'm like hyper aware of it. I don't know what to do.
Have you guys have you ever caught yourself doing like the exact opposite, like the inverse, in order in your effort not to copy something? Because when I was designing the characters for Without Moonlight, I was very aware of one of the pulp fiction I have talked often about that was a very big influence when I was young, and I wanted to have tributes to it, but I didn't want it to be anything like it.
Right.
So
deliberately changing.
Yeah.
Things.
So and I caught myself saying, like I was designing, for example, I was designing Fotis, and I was saying, okay, he can't ever wear this. He will wear the exact opposite of that, and he can't have straight hair. He will have wavy hair or super wavy hair, just to make sure that he's completely different from this character and that character, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I've done that. I can't remember when, but I can remember thinking that way, that I had to change things just enough so I didn't run into it. Yeah, I remember, say, The Max, which was a fantastic cartoon and comic in the late 90s, I think. There's this character called Miss Julie, I think that was her name. Anyway, and I think maybe the first episode she had these these flared trousers, but like similar to Pinky TA, they were sort of worn like suspended from the belt, so there'd be a big cut out of the crotch, and she was wearing like underpants or something like that, and so they were similar to Pinky TA's in a style, but yeah, they were joined at the back as well. Rather, Pinkies are just sort of joined at the front, and they're flares, whereas Pinkies are like tucked into boots. But there's that, and so I had to make extra careful that, probably this is like in a single page of the comic that appears, and it's like in like 3 seconds of the cartoon that appears,
Wow.
But I was still aware of that, and I did not want to be accused of copying, and that kind of style is not like, the way I've done it for Pinky is not common, but turning trousers into suspenders and just having underpants, that is not a particular completely original thing. Chaps have always existed. Male strippers and female strippers wearing that kind of style it exists, but yeah, you can't be too precious about those kind of things.
No.
But yeah.
But sometimes when you try to not reverse engineer, but just, go the opposite way in order to not have your inspiration actually be the original and yours the copy. That is a double-edged sword, in that if you do it too much, it becomes again a caricature and it's not your own thing still.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Becomes inorganic, really. Kind of like tropey in its own way then.
Yes,
like
exactly.
You're just being opposite. You're not actually doing something original.
Yeah. But if you do try to do to have the same result, like communicate to the audience the same thing, but through a different way, in a sort of like a thesaurus for imagery, let's say, then you might come up with some new elements that are very unique in their own sense. And I'm thinking, like when I was trying to differentiate my main character, that was very much like Snape in Art of Veiling, with R on his name. The whole point that originally he was dressed in black was that it was reflecting his original emotional situation and headspace. But I couldn't do that anymore because I felt it would be too similar to the character of Snape. So I nixed that, and I had him wear this very grayish, bluish, nondescript color that actually couldn't tell you a thing about what his emotional state was. And I worked off of that, in a sense.
So that gave you another original element sort of thing.
Yeah.
Something new. Oh, that's interesting.
So you like meditate on what you're doing. There's nothing. So we've kind of hit two extremes here. And like, don't copy people, but at the same time, don't go so much out of your way to not copy them. And the thing that these two things have in common is that it means too much focus on a different work. You're putting too much emphasis on somebody else's work rather than your own.
Yeah.
Which means that your ideas in the long run become short-sighted. And so, like, for instance, not to be, all full of myself and use myself as the example here, but like, with Putrid Meat, as far as I can tell, and I do wholeheartedly believe that that is a unique story and a unique setting in its own way. Oh yeah, sure, post-apocalyptic things have been done all the time, and I had a lot of inspiration from Judge Dredd and Voivod and all that stuff. But that's not a Judge Dredd world that he lives in. It's not a Voivod world that he lives in. It has those elements, but it's its own world with its own rules. And because basically what I did was I found this idea that I wanted to pursue. And as I pursued it, I meditated on the idea and where I wanted to go with it, not irrespectively, but without concern of saying, I want it to be like Judge Dredd. I want it to be set in a Voivod-esque world. I never really concretely said that in what I wanted to do. Those were just kind of afterthoughts. So it's like, it's how you prioritize how you take inspiration from something.
Mm. Yeah.
Exactly.
You're not totally focused on the thing you're inspired by. You're inspired by it, but you're not like going, oh God, I've got to make it different. I've got to make it the same. Yeah. You'll take it. You'll be inspired by it in spirit more than actuality, which is really helpful, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tank Girl, again, that's something else that inspired Pinky TA, But you don't really see much of that in Pinky TA, I think. And I had to, I had to police myself again early on, but then again, you just read it and you think, yeah, I'll take the spirit of it rather than actually copying any particular element. And I think even then, it's more inspired by the movie than anything else, than the actual comic, which is, a bit silly of me, but yeah.
I've definitely had that, something I'm working on. I'm sorry, Chance.
No, go ahead.
So, yeah, something I've been working on. I haven't started doing pages yet. I'm kind of doing a lot of the writing, a lot of the character designs and stuff like that for the last few months. And it's very close. It's inspired by, I guess, and very close to a popular anime that I have at Disney. So I'm like, so I sort of I want to do this. I really there's character types and there's sort of just certain things that I'm like, okay, what I have in mind is way too close, close to that. So I'm not totally sure what to do. But as I started designing the, the clothes and the characters, and I've started world building and figuring out, really getting into detail kind of thing about what are these people doing, what do they want, and as I develop it, things are changing a bit,
right.
and it starts to become, it's really not very close. I mean, so much so that I doubt anyone will even notice. By the time I actually do my thing, it's going to look quite different. And if it doesn't, I will do some tweaks maybe. But it's already looking like it's going to be completely different anyway. So.
Well,
once you get into the nitty gritty of it, it's the details of it. It's oh yeah, it's not really going to be the same thing at all.
It's grown up and diverged. But with anime is a really great example because anime is so tropey and ideas are so recycled that it really wouldn't matter if it was close because that's how it exists in anime. Everything is really close. You can sort of name so many animes that are different versions of other animes, Oh, the anime set in another world. You mean like Sword Art Online? Oh, you mean like Log Horizon? You mean like that time I was reincarnated as a slime? You mean, you know, all these animes have the same kind of same elements that are recycled over and over and over. So it doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah, and I think that another thing we have to always keep in mind is that in the end, everything is a tool. Like every chef will use eggs and flour and whatever else to create their dish. But every single chef's dish is going to be different. So, they are not copying each other because they're using literally identical ingredients.
You made a cake? Oh my god, I made a cake. Oh Jesus, what are we gonna do now?
And in the end, the point is that you want to create something that is what you are going for, like the result, the artistic result that you are going for, basically. And that's the point. That's the important.
Yeah,
focus
what
on that.
Is the way you've used it. It's like so many Hollywood movies, they all use the bloody hero's journey because, they know the audience understands it, they know what to expect. It's not just, it's a good way to write stories, because it's not. It's just only one of the ways to write stories. But it's something audiences understand and they resonate with in movies, so it works. But that doesn't mean all stories are going to be the same because they use the same formula. They can do, it depends how you use it or what your character's doing, because the characterization is often more important than plot. So, don't be worried about using the same things as other people, because you use it in your own way. So it can work out. It can. Mm-hmm. I know.
All right.
There's so many things that other people will use that is the same as other people. And they will get complaining about it, like that artist with the brush. Fonts. Oh my god, you use the same font as me. I thought I created my own font to be original. People will go to that level. That is not uncommon. That is not like some freaky extreme I just invented. No. People will get that crazy about it. There's great people like Pitt who will do her own handwriting, of course. So that is original. And I'm copying that now for Bottomless Waitress. I'm doing handwriting fonts in that because it looks really cool. So I was inspired by shit.
Dude, I have the evidence here. So
it's recorded. But yeah, so there's people who will get crazy about using the same font, and it will be a font they found online, a free font, and they'll be using it, but they'll go crazy. Used to have spriters who would go crazy that other people would use the same kind of sprites, but they'd be generic sprites that they found off DeviantArt or whatever, and then they'd recolor them, and they say, "Oh my god, this is my recolor! How could you do the same recolor as me?" But there's only so many colors you can do. Evil Dark Shadow. This is a character from Sonic the Hedgehog. No, mine's Dark Evil Shadow. My god, you've got the same thing as me. Super pregnant Knuckles. Right. My Knuckles is super pregnant as well. How could you do the same? There's not too many variations you could do in a sprite comic. So, yeah. It comes down to what you're doing with the characters. Because everyone's copying off everybody else. And even if they're not copying, it's going to look like copying. So yeah. So be careful of imitation. Sometimes it can be bad, and you can take legal action or whatever, but normally it's not. So just exercise some caution and don't steal anyone else's work.
Or if you're going to steal, go the extra mile and steal from tons and tons of different things so nobody can tell what you stole from.
That is pretty much all art ever. All right.
Words like pastiche and homage.
Yes, exactly.
Cover your tracks.
Hybrid collectif.
Oh my god, that's a new one.
That's good.
I love it. Okay. This has been Quackcast number 408. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. First Quackcast of the new year.
Bye.
Oh, and when you imitate someone with a dumb person voice, just repeating what they say, that's not flattery. I learned that. Not in that family.
Mockery is the most sincerest form of flattery.
Of disdain or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like Bane says, that's not flattery. That's not flattery.
Exactly. Not. Exactly.
Okay. Bye everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.